The recruit sneered, his voice piercing with derision as he laughed loudly enough to make you lose a knife fight with a cactus or whatever, for the whole hangar to hear his friends laughing together while pointing out the deep, angry scars down. Both of her forearms, the woman stood motionless in formation, her arms uncovered by the short sleeves of her standard-issue shirt, her eyes fixed forward and emotionless. She didn't respond to the jeers or snide remarks. She didn't need to. The more they laughed, the more awkward it got. "What's her call sign, huh?" Another joker nudged his companion and exclaimed, "Scratch!" as though he had just delivered comedy gold. The gang burst out laughing once more, but she said nothing, not even flinching or looking, simply a stillness that had stories hidden within it. These children weren't prepared to listen. Overconfident and boastful, one of the recruits strode closer to her, tilting his head to examine the scars as if they were amusement. "You scared or just too broken to speak?" The sound of boots hitting concrete thundered over the hangar as he scoffed, expecting to cause her to have an emotional outburst, but she didn't even flinch. Then the doors opened with a moan, and quiet fell over the room like a sudden frost. The recruits all stiffened and stood tall as the general entered, without speaking or having the 4 stars on his chest. Then, as he proceeded down the line, he stopped directly in front of her, and the room held its breath. He looked her in the eye and said, "Calm and firm, Valkyrie." The general wasn't finished. He took a step closer and uttered, "Didn't expect to see you back this soon." The smiling recruit blinked in confusion as though he had misheard the name, which cut through the tension like a blade. She nodded politely and answered, "Mission's done, sir. I keep my promises." Valkyrie led the medevac extraction in Kandahar last year. The ambush was the one without backup, no air support, and a kill zone hot enough to melt steel. All laughter died as she carried 2 wounded Marines across that field after 2 rounds. The general turned to face the recruits, his voice rising with weight and reverence. "She didn't wait for orders or ask for cover. She just moved." The general paused and then added with calm gravity, "She saved 5 lives that day, including my son's." She refused to stop until every soldier was on that helicopter. The color drained from the recruit's face. The general stared at him now, eyes like fire. "Those scars," he said, voice rising, "they're not shame. They're survival, they're sacrifice, they're the reason you're standing here with the privilege to mock someone braver than you'll ever be." The room fell deeper into silence. Then came the final blow. She came back here not to lead, not to boast, but to start over with you, to train beside you, to make sure you survive. He took a final step away from her, glancing once more at the recruits. "So unless you've earned scars like hers, you shut your mouth and you follow her lead." With that, the general walked off, the echo of his boots ringing. With finality, she turned her head slightly, just enough to glance at the recruit who had mocked her, and said only one thing: "Don't confuse silence with weakness. Sometimes it's restraint." Then she walked away, calm and composed, while the recruit stood, frozen, crushed under the weight of his own humiliation. After that day, no one dared mock her again in the mess hall. No one sat at her table. Not out of shunning, but out of reverence. She moved through drills like a machine, efficient, focused, relentless. And when the same recruit stumbled during training, collapsing during a brutal march through the mud and rain, it was her, the woman he'd ridiculed, who stopped, knelt beside him, and pulled him to his feet. She said nothing, offered no lecture, just kept moving, and this time he followed. From then on, he trained harder, kept pace with her, studied her every move, not out of fear, but out of deep respect. Because real strength doesn't scream, it doesn't demand attention, it shows up scarred and silent, and keeps pushing forward. He learned that the hard way. Valkyrie never spoke of her past, never brought up her mission, never reminded them who she was. She didn't need to. Her actions wrote volumes. Every bruise, every scar, every drop of sweat was her story. And slowly those around her stopped seeing the wounds and started seeing the warrior. She wasn't just a soldier. She was a lesson that bravery doesn't always roar. Sometimes it walks in silence and carries others until they can walk too. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? If this story touched you, subscribe the channel and hit that like button and drop a karma in the comments below.